My father prohibited me from going to the Christmas gathering because my younger brother was bringing along his accomplished girlfriend. 3 months later, when my brother applied for a job, HR introduced me as the CEO. His reaction was one of shock. Shortly after, my parents visited my home, but I called 911. Hey Reddit, Christmas has always been my favorite time of year. The lights, the food, and that feeling that, if only for one night, the world slows down and people remember to care for each other. But last year was different. Last year, Christmas marked the moment my family decided I wasn't good enough to be there anymore. My name is Lena, and until recently, I believed being the oldest meant earning respect. It turned out in my family, it only meant being forgotten when I no longer fit their ideal image. 2 weeks before Christmas, my father called. His tone was sharp and businesslike, lacking the warmth you'd expect from a dad inviting his daughter home for the holidays. Lena, he said, we think it's best if you don't come for Christmas this year. At first, I thought I misheard him. What? Why? He sighed as if my question was absurd. Your brother, Ethan, is bringing his new girlfriend. She's very successful, works in finance, manages her own team, that sort of thing. We just want to avoid any tension. Tension? I echoed. Dad, what does that even mean? He hesitated before saying, You've been out of work for a while, right? You know how your mother reacts when people start comparing. We just don't want to make you uncomfortable. I fell silent, fully aware of what he implied. They were embarrassed of me, ashamed of their own daughter who had been laid off during downsizing and was trying to create something new from nothing. I swallowed hard. So, you're saying I'll make you look bad? He didn't dispute it. We'll celebrate another time, Lena. I promise. I hung up and sat in my small apartment, staring at the Christmas tree I had decorated alone. For the first time in years, I didn't feel the holiday spirit. I felt disposable. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed with pictures from their perfect party. My parents smiling, my brother's arm around his stunning girlfriend, everyone shining under twinkling lights. No one even noticed my absence. That night, I vowed I would never plead for a place at a table where I wasn't wanted. The following months were tough. I worked long hours juggling freelance projects while battling self-doubt. But gradually, I began to build something substantial, a startup I had dreamed of for years. It started small, just an idea and a laptop, but I committed everything to it. Every ounce of humiliation became motivation. Every dismissive comment fueled my drive. 3 months later, my company secured its first major investor. By 6 months, we had a full office, a small team, and our product was in final testing. One morning, HR walked into my office and said, We have a new applicant coming in today. He applied for the operations manager position, and his resume looked impressive. I nodded, distracted while scrolling through reports. Set up the interview. An hour later, my assistant knocked. Your next candidate is here. His name is Ethan Carter. I froze. That was my brother's name. I looked up, half expecting her to say it was a mistake, but when she opened the door, there he was, my brother, in a sharp suit, wearing the same charming smile, though this time his confidence seemed forced. He didn't notice me at first. He was too busy adjusting his tie. Then HR said, smiling, Ethan, this is Miss Carter, our CEO. His face lost all color as he stared at me in disbelief. Lena! I smiled politely. Good to see you again, Ethan. Please take a seat. HR was oblivious to the tension. You two know each other? Ethan cleared his throat. Yeah, she's my sister. HR blinked. Oh, well, small world. Then she left, closing the door behind her. Silence filled the room. Ethan tried to laugh it off. Wow. Company. Huh. I had no idea you. I gently interrupted. No, you didn't. Because you never asked. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. I leaned back in my chair. So, tell me why you want this job. He fumbled for his resume, his hands trembling slightly. I've been out of work. My girlfriend left, and things have been challenging lately. His eyes darted to me, searching for compassion. I could have humiliated him. I could have reminded him how I wasn't good enough for Christmas dinner, or how my own father had barred me from coming because he was embarrassed by my struggles. But I didn't, because I had learned that revenge doesn't require anger, it simply requires success. I smiled kindly. I'll have HR reach out if we decide to move forward." He stood awkwardly muttering, "Thank you, Lena." As he walked out, I noticed his shoulders droop, not just from defeat, but from realization. For the first time, he understood what it felt like to be underestimated. That evening, my phone buzzed continuously. My mother calling, then my father. I didn't answer. Then came a message. "We need to talk. Your brother told us everything. We're proud of you, Lena. Please, let's meet." Proud of me now, because I was successful, the same success they had thrown in my face months ago through someone else's girlfriend. I ignored their messages for a week, thinking that would put an end to it. Then one Friday night, I heard a knock on my door. I opened it, and there they were, my parents, standing on my porch with apologetic smiles and anxious eyes. "Sweetheart, we just wanted to see you," my mom said, reaching for me. My dad quickly added, "We made a mistake. We shouldn't have." I stepped back. "You banned me from Christmas, Dad. Do you know what that felt like?" His expression crumbled. I was trying to keep the peace. I laughed bitterly. "No, you were trying to maintain appearances." My mom started crying. "We just want to talk. Please don't shut us out." But the way they said it, their expectation of forgiveness, felt owed. Something inside me snapped. I whispered, "You don't get to show up when it's convenient." Then, quietly but firmly, I said, "Leave." They didn't move. I took out my phone, hands shaking, not from rage, but from control. I said again, "Leave." When they still didn't budge, I looked them in the eye and said, "If you don't, I'll call 911. They left without another word. I closed the door, sank to the floor, and cried, not out of spite, but out of release. 4 years, I had sought their approval. That night, I realized I no longer needed it. Because sometimes, peace comes from understanding your own worth and never allowing anyone to take it away again. 3 weeks later, when my father ended up in the hospital and his company was on the brink of collapse, I found myself standing in front of him again. What happened next changed everything. It had been 3 weeks since that night when I told my parents to leave my doorstep. I hadn't heard from them since, thinking that chapter was closed until I received a phone call one cold, rainy afternoon. "Lena, it's Mom." Her voice trembled through the line. "Your father's in the hospital. He collapsed at work." For a moment, I couldn't respond. All the anger, all the pain, and the distance suddenly felt heavy, almost childish. He was still my father. I arrived at the hospital that evening. The hall smelled of disinfectant and rain. When I entered his room, he looked smaller and weaker, connected to machines. The man who once commanded every room was now fragile, pale and silent. My mother sat by his side, her eyes red. When she saw me, she broke down in tears. "Lena, thank you for coming." I didn't respond. I just walked to his bedside and looked down at him. This man who had once banned me from Christmas, as though I were a blemish on the family name. He opened his eyes slowly. "Lena." His voice was faint. "You came." I nodded. "Of course I did." He attempted to smile, but it turned into a cough. "I've made many mistakes," he whispered. "I thought success would hold this family together. I didn't realize it would tear us apart." For a long moment, I remained silent. I wanted to tell him how much that phone call had hurt, how it still haunted me when I saw the lights of my own apartment during Christmas. But looking at him, I understood he already knew. "I know," I said quietly. "And I forgive you, Dad." Tears filled his eyes. "You shouldn't." "I have to," I whispered. "Because I need peace, too." He nodded weakly. That night, as the rain softly tapped against the hospital window, the barriers between us finally fell. The next morning, I received a call from one of my father's former employees, a man named Michael who used to work in his company's accounting department. He informed me that the company was in serious trouble. My father's business partner had been embezzling funds for months, and now, with my father ill, everything was collapsing. If something isn't done soon, they'll lose everything. Your parents' house, the company, everything your father built. I took a deep breath. "Send me the numbers." That evening, I sat in my office, analyzing every report, every ledger, every misused dollar. It was dire, but not hopeless. With my company's resources and connections, I could resolve it. But doing so meant stepping back into the very world that had shut me out. I remembered my father's words about how he believed success held us together. He was mistaken. It wasn't success that healed, it was compassion. So I made a decision. I called the bank, arranged a temporary merger, and allocated a fund through my company. Within 48 hours, I legally acquired controlling shares of my father's company. It wasn't about ownership. It was about saving something he had worked his entire life for, even if he had once thought I wasn't worth inviting to dinner. When he woke up 3 days later, my mom told him everything. He looked at me, tears streaming down his face. "You've saved us." "No, Dad." I smiled gently. "I just finished what you started." He reached for my hand, voice trembling. "You had every right to let it all collapse." I nodded. "Maybe, but if I did, I'd be no better than the people who hurt me." For the first time, he truly smiled. After he recovered, I invited both my parents to my office, the same place where months earlier my brother had walked in for an interview without knowing who he faced. This time felt different. They came not out of pride, but out of gratitude. Dad walked slowly, leaning on his cane, while Mom held his arm. When they entered my office, their eyes widened at the sight, my company logo on the wall, a bustling team beyond the glass. The quiet hum of success, earned through hardship. I gestured for them to sit. Dad looked around, then at me. "It's incredible what you've built." Mom whispered, "We should have never doubted you." I took a breath. "You did what you thought was best back then. I understand that now. But Dad, I never needed you to be proud of me because I was successful. I needed you to be proud of me because I tried." He lowered his head. "I'm sorry." Then the door opened, and in walked my brother, Ethan. He froze when he saw me behind the desk. "You're the one who saved Dad's company." I nodded. "Yes." He swallowed hard. "Lena, I was terrible to you. I let them treat you like you didn't matter." "I'm sorry." I studied him for a moment. His remorse was genuine. For the first time, I felt no anger, just relief. "It's okay," I said softly. "We all learn eventually. Some lessons just take longer." We talked for hours that day about our past mistakes, forgiveness, and how family isn't measured by who shines the brightest, but by who stands with you in the dark. When they left my office that evening, Dad turned back at the door and said something that made every tear worth it. "You know, Lena, if I could redo that Christmas party, you'd be the guest of honor." I smiled. "It's okay, Dad. The next one's on me." 3 months later, I hosted our family Christmas at my home. No extravagant decorations, no designer dresses, just laughter, homemade food, and true peace. Dad sat by the fire, humming an old tune softly. Mom helped me set the table. Ethan was in the kitchen, burning cookies but smiling nonetheless. As we all sat down, Dad raised his glass to second chances and to my daughter, who reminded me what genuine success looks like. I smiled, tears in my eyes, because for the first time, I realized I hadn't just earned my family's respect, I had healed it. And maybe that's what Christmas is truly about. Not perfection, not appearances, but the courage to forgive, to grow, and to love again, even when the world once told you that you didn't belong. That year, I wasn't barred from the Christmas party. I hosted it, and for once, everyone came, not out of pride, but out of love. They had excluded me for being unsuccessful, yet I built something greater.